Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Indiana Sports Beat after the season. Players Roundtable again, brought back by special demand. John Laskowski, Joe Hillman's with us. AJ Moye will also be joined by Steve Risley, a former teammate of new coach Mike Woodson, and also I think Eric Gordon Sr. may join us as well. We can talk about how the impact on AAU and things like that. But guys, let's just get right to it. Last time we spoke, you guys pretty much labeled what had happened, and we'll go with John first. John, Mike Woodson, pretty good pick, I think.
Yeah, exactly right. We are very happy. Well, at least I am. I'll hear from the other guys. But, we described a guy just like Mike Woodson to be our next coach. And Scott Dolson got together with him. He put the plan together, flew out to New York, visited with him, and we made this happen. Here's a guy that has Indiana basketball history at his side. A great press conference this morning, talked about being a sixth grader in Indianapolis, not having enough money to go to Indiana Bob Knight basketball camp, and a teacher put the money up. Woodson goes to the camp, wins a 3-on-3 tournament at the camp, and Coach Knight presents him with a T-shirt, winner's T-shirt, and says, "Son, I want to come see you, and when you're a senior in high school, I want you to come to Indiana." And 6 years later, it plays out, and Mike Woodson gets to play at Indiana. He talked so much about how much that meant to him. He got a chance to go to Indiana and play basketball, and how big an impact Coach Knight had on his life, and that he wants to work with kids to get them the same favor that Coach gave Mike to help other kids. And he's been doing it in the NBA for 30 years, and now he wants to do it at the college level to the school that put him on the map. And that's the kind of guy that we needed for Indiana's basketball coach.
Joe Hillman, you're a guy, you played for Coach Knight as well on the 87 National Championship team, and you played in an era when that was the type of play that was going on at Indiana, and they've gotten away from that. But Mike Woodson certainly seems like a guy who can bring that back around.
Well, this is a great hire, first and foremost, because it's an IU guy. And we've gone 20 years hiring outsiders, and it hasn't worked. So, to me, this is an outstanding hire. And if you don't know Mike Woodson, he's one of the greatest guys you'll ever be around. There's nobody that ever meets Mike Woodson that ever has a bad word to say about him. He's just a genuine guy. He's just fun to be around. And I hear people say all the time, well, it's different. He's never coached in college. You know what? If you can coach, you can coach. They don't ever have a problem with guys going from college to the NBA that never coached in the NBA. So why is there a problem going the other way? Because if you're good at what you do with X's and O's, and you can get guys fundamentally sound at blocking out, screening, making open shots, making free throws, you're going to win a ton of games in college basketball, and that ain't hard. And Mike Woodson's going to be really, really good.
AJ, you work with the young players today. That's what you do every day. You're around those guys. And for those who have said that he's too distant from today's kids or all that stuff, how do you dispel that? I mean, you're the guy that you know.
Well, man, shoot, I work with everybody, man. So NBA all-stars to college guys to high school guys. It really did. Always available. He's always he's always there. He's been in the game for so long, so he's seen the game evolve. He's seen the game go through his ebbs, his flows, and he knows basketball. That guy can flat out play the game of basketball in his sleep. So I'm thrilled that he got the job. I kind of heard something about it like 2-3 weeks ago. And so I'm excited to see that it actually came to fruition.
Well, and one of the guys who we want to look forward to speaking to most of all, Steve Risley, with us now. Steve, you played with Mike Woodson on the 81 National Championship team.
No, I didn't.
Well, you should have.
Yeah, should have. Mike wasn't on the 81 team.
Well, I mean, you played with him is what I meant to say. Yeah. A member of the 81 National Championship team. Playing with Mike and the kind of guy he was. Talk about that in this hire today.
Mike was always he's just a great human being, which made you want to be his teammate. And Mike and I have a long history. We actually spent time, Mike, Wayne, and I went to Indianapolis Public School number 11, Edgar H. Evans School number 11, together in grade school. And, I heard Mike tell a story about getting the money to go to camp. Heck, I sent a check in 3 years in a row and got turned down by Coach Knight's camp every year. I never got to go there. They sent my check back and said, thanks, try again next year. And then, of course, Mike went on to a great career at Broad Ripple, and I went to Lawrence Central. And we managed to prevent Mike from ever winning a Hinkle sectional. Lawrence Central won that thing 2 years in a row when I was there, and unfortunately, we had to go through Broad Ripple twice to do it. So, and then I come to IU after Mike's already spent a year there. And Mike, what you'll find about Mike is that he's a very no-nonsense person, but he's a humorous person too. I mean, he'll have fun, but he'll have fun in the right way, and he knows how to divide having fun. And my 2 Australian Shepherds will have a say about this all too. I apologize. But you'll find him to be just a person who's matter of the fact, but not as explosive or rambunctious as we might have seen other coaches be down there. And like I said, I've known Mike for as long as I can remember. I've never had a run-in with him. There was nobody at Indiana that worked harder. Mike's a leader that will lead by example.
Yes.
And guys, you all know, AJ, you, Joe, every time you'd have practice, all films are practiced at IU, or practices are filmed at IU. And you would have some notes in your locker the next day when you came in about yesterday's practice. And you were expected to go find an assistant coach and go spend pre-workout time, right, AJ? Am I right,
yeah.
AJ? Yeah, and you go find a coach.
That was Coach Knight's thing.
Yeah, and you worked on things individually. Your individual success you needed to do, you did that on your own time. You got an assistant coach. Sometimes he'd have a name written down he wanted you to go get, and sometimes you just go pick your own. And you'd go to one of the 6 or 7 baskets that were set up for practice, and you'd work. And then at 3:10, when practice started, you were doing team things. Everything was about the team with Coach Knight, and Mike epitomized that as much as anybody. He worked hard individually, usually the first one there, or near one of the first ones there. Usually one of the last ones. Mike was one of those guys, and there were more than just Mike, but guys that would stay after practice and say, hey, I need to work on this a little bit more. Can I spend some time with a coach? And Mike led that charge as well. And he wasn't the only guy that did it, but certainly set an example of that, but was very focused on what the team needed during the time from 3:10 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, however long we practiced from that time. And I think that's what he's going to bring. I like this press conference a lot. John, I heard you talking about it. I thought he really broke down the nuts and bolts, what are important to him. And it made me really believe he's got a plan right now. And he's not coming into this just being Mike Woodson, a former IU player, and things are going to happen. And I think he's got a really good plan. The things he wants to focus on are critical areas Indiana needs to work on. And everything so far has been incredibly positive. This is something that probably should have happened a long time ago. It just should have. And, John, I know you've alluded to that too. But it just should have happened a long time ago. But here we are. So let's move forward from here and go bring Indiana back to respectability. That's Mike's first job. That's his first job, is bring Indiana back to respectability.
Excellent point. I thought the press conference was interesting. Mike Woodson is a very laid-back, easygoing guy. He doesn't talk fast. He doesn't have a lot of emotion in the voice. He's just a very steady, easygoing guy. And then they showed clips of Thad Matta, who's the new athletic department basketball liaison, if you will. And, boy, he's just as intense as you can be coaching those guys. You can't have all the guys with the same personality. It just doesn't work. You got to have different guys. It's like a corporation. You got this guy, the accounting guy. He's real easygoing. He's a numbers, facts, and figures guy. You got the marketing guys they're wild and crazy. You got the president. You got the CFO. That's what we got to put together. And Woodson and Matta have different personalities, but they can relate to people like themselves, and you're going to find players exactly like that. One guy's going to be easygoing. How do we get him to work harder? And you're going to have the wild and crazy guy. We got to calm down a little bit. And now we're waiting on these 3 assistants they're going to put together, and I think they're looking at the same thing. How can we get the expert help in certain areas we need to go with the 2 guys we already have to make this thing a powerhouse? And when you really look at it, you got 2 guys who are interested in the head coaching position, and you got both of them. You got Mike Woodson, the head coach, and you got Thad Matta, who's the director of basketball operations. And then you still have your 3 assistants. So that makes 5 when most teams have 4. So I think we really came off with a great start. And the way Scott explained it, this is what Thad's going to do. This is what Mike's going to do. And then we'll fill in with the 3 assistants.
Yeah, John, I don't know about you, but if you guys hear my ringer, I'm waiting on a call from Mike right now to go down and be one of the assistants.
Well, that'd be a bad choice.
Okay, we'll take that call if it comes up, all right?
Yeah. I already got a text from Mike today that said no thanks, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, Joe, my question, John brought up Thad Matta. How, Joe, do you think that's going to work out with his role? We don't know exactly what his role is going to be. You guys probably know more about that. I expect some of that is going to be helping with Mike acclimate from the pro game to the college game, and also the fact that Thad Matta is so integrated in the Big Ten itself. So there's 2 big things there. But what else is going to be going on there, do you guys think? And Joe, I'll start with you.
I have no idea. I don't really quite understand why you had to go get Thad Matta. I think Mike can handle the job. My guess is Thad Matta is going to be there to help with the behind-the-scenes college basketball stuff, that getting the program going. But I really have nothing to say about the Thad Matta thing because I don't know what he's going to do.
AJ, again, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot because I don't know either. It's kind of an unusual situation, but as John alluded to, and I think Scott Dolson had said he was looking for a CEO, but I other than what I'd said before, I think, AJ, that may be the biggest part of it, helping him acclimate to the college game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be the reason why, but man, I'm gonna go with this one, man. I was like that. I didn't really get it, but I mean, I think anytime it's got to be helpful, man. Anytime you gotta you get a guy the caliber of Mike, to come in and coach. I mean, just look at all the legends that he's been involved with in his life, his basketball life, right? I mean, the guy just his knowledge of the game of basketball is second to none. So bringing in a guy like Thad Matta, I think maybe it's like what you said. He's a Big Ten, kind of a known commodity in the Big Ten, and he probably knows the X's and O's, the ins and outs of the college coaching game. But I really feel Mike could handle it all on his own. But,
well, AJ, let me just say this, AJ. Come on, guys. They've been quiet all day. Hang on.
Well, as far as recruiting goes as well.
Okay, here's the deal. Thad Matta coached at Butler before he went to Ohio State.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's a local geography right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he knows the state. He's got a reputation with coaches in the state, and I think it's going to take some pressure off Mike. And allow Mike to free up and do something. Mike's first job and Thad's first job, in my opinion, and John or Joe jump in, is he's got to re-recruit the players he's got right now.
Yeah.
He's got some players in the porthole right now.
There's like 6 of them.
He's not in a position he can lose the guys he's got. This is a fairly talented basketball team in my eyes. And I think he's got a lot to work with to make Indiana viable next season. And if he can get on the recruiting and Thad can help him out with the recruiting, that's a plus just to have Thad around right there alone. It's just with the recruiting aspect. And I made a comment on an earlier show I had done earlier in the day that it kind of peeved me a little bit that I was watching the Big Ten tournament and all I kept hearing about was all these players playing on different Big Ten teams that were from Indiana, from the state of Indiana. I'm thinking, why are we letting these guys go? Why are they not coming to Indiana or Purdue or even Notre Dame? They're getting out of our state, and I think that's where Thad really can help Mike, and Mike's going to have the credibility. So anytime you can do a double punch like that, it's got to be positive.
Yeah, obviously getting back to recruiting, and Archie did somewhat a decent job with that, but there are others, like you mentioned, but there's also guys from outside of the state, like A.J. Moye, Joe Hillman, who are great pieces to great teams that also were not being gathered, and I think that Mike Woodson, because of his NBA credentials, can get those guys covered. Joe Hillman, you're one of those out-of-state guys. You came from California. So what are your thoughts on that?
We talked about this last week. What's Indiana's identity? We don't have one. We have no style of play. We have no rhyme or reason of what we do. So I think Mike could bring that back. The greatest thing to me with Mike Woodson is he's one of the best players that's ever played in Indiana. He's going to be able to sit there and he's going to be able to say, hey, guys, here's what this is all about. This is what was built here. This is what we're going to bring back. And if you don't want to do it this way, then there's the door and I'll see you later, because he's going to be bigger than any player that's down there at the time. And Mike's going to have the ability to command respect from every player that comes in. And I think one of the big things right now is, he's got some ability right now with guys that are in this so-called portal. And I understand guys putting their name in the portal. But here's what I would say if I was the new guy coming in. Hey, look, we didn't win with you guys the last couple of years when you were here at Indiana. You don't want to come back and be an Indiana basketball player? Fine, I'll go find guys that want to do it the way that we need it done. Because, and this is a completely different topic, but allowing guys to transfer and not sit out is going to ruin college basketball. It will be 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and teams are going to get decimated with guys just saying, you know what, I'm leaving. Let's go make a super team. So if guys don't want to be a part of Indiana, then go. But I do understand if a guy says, look, I don't want to play a certain way. If they bring in a full court pressing guy that's going to run a 1-2, 1-1 press all over the place, that may not fit some guys. If somebody brings in somebody that's real slow, methodical offense, they may not want to play for that. So put your name in the portal. I guess I'm good with that. But Mike's going to be perfectly fine recruiting players to come play because he's just a nice, great guy. When he goes and sits down with parents, people are going to go, I want my kid to be involved with this guy. That's I think, a huge part of recruiting.
John, how important was it that Mike Woodson started off his press conference with today paying homage to Coach Bob Knight in the way that he did, and the coaching and all of the things that he built, the building blocks? Yeah, we know that there are other things that go along with Coach Knight, and I understand that, but that's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about the coaching aspect and all the things that so many people, all of you guys that are here, have learned. And I'm honored when I get to talk to all of you all, because I get to learn from you all. But all the things that he talked about today, that he learned and where he is today because of him, how important was it to get that out? Because there had been kind of an anti-Bob Knight thing for a while in the administration.
Well, right. These guys all know it. Mike Woodson said it today, that it was Coach Knight who gave him a chance. And look where it's taken. A 30-year NBA career. He's circled back home. He's back in Indiana and able to coach. When Mike Wilson is in a living room of some kid and he's talking to him about Indiana and what it meant to him, and I want you to come along and be a part of this thing, that's going to be a very productive message that he's able to send out when he's in that room. When you talk about what's Thad Matta going to do, I think you need these other people, the 3 assistants and Thad Matta, to be the setup people to make this happen. Coaches like to coach. Mike loves the X's and O's of the game. He's very good at it. He's relating to the players. But there's other aspects that you got to let other people do, because the head coach can't do it all. It's a 24/7 job already, let alone you got to do everything on top. So you divide that up, and I don't know what that's going to be, but let some of the other coaches do part of it, and do Mike do the things he likes to do the best and he's the best at. That's what we do at the restaurant. the best people are in the best places. That's what the team does on the floor. You're 6'11", you're going to be a center. You're 6'1", you're a great point guard. It's the same thing in the coaching realm. Guys, I want to let you know, I stopped by the basketball office today. I saw the press conference. We worked through lunch. I went over about 3 o'clock. Cook Hall is locked right now because of the COVID. The basketball offices are locked. I don't have a swipe card, which all the kids have. And so I'm by the door, and Mike Roberts is there. He sees me and opens the door for me and asked Mike how he was doing, former IU player. And I said, are the coaches in? Yeah, they're in. As Mike said, they're going to be interviewing the players, talking to them today. And I could see some guys coming in and out. And I walked down the hall, and a player had just left one of the rooms at the end. And I thought, well, this is my chance. I'm going to stick my head in the door. And I stick my head in the door, and it's Thad Matta right there. And he looks at me. We are friends. I've known him over the years. His wife's from Seymour. My wife is from Seymour, Indiana. And I said, Coach, congratulations on becoming an Indiana Hoosier. And a big smile on his face. You could just tell he was so happy to be there. I asked him for his cell phone number. I said, let's get together and let's talk about this thing and let me know how I can help. And I'm sure I'm speaking for all the players, how we can help to get this thing going. You could just tell how excited he was. And no sooner did I get done saying that, and a player walks out of Coach Woodson's office. So, I mean, at my age, you can take chances. The worst I can do is throw it out, okay? So I stick my head into Woodson's office, okay? I haven't seen the guy in a long time, okay? He recognizes me. I said, congratulations, Coach. I'm so happy that you got to be the coach. He said, get in here and sit down. So I walk in and I sit down. How's it going? What's going on? I said, by the way, I said, we are behind you. We think it's I said, I'm on a Zoom call tonight on YouTube at 7:30. We did this 10 days ago. I had some guys on there. This is the follow-up. Now that we have you as the coach, I said, we kind of described you, not by name, but as a profile of what we wanted. He said, what time's the call? I said, it's going to start at 7:30. He said, can I be on the call? And I said, well, I said, of course you can be on the call. And he looked at his schedule, and I said, I can email you the link, and da-da-da. And he goes, well, I got a 7:30 with this guy. I got 8 o'clock with that guy. So he wasn't able to do it. But he wanted to be on the call with us today. That's the kind of coach that we want to have, okay?
You feel good.
Well, we'll let you make that happen next week, John. We'll do it live. I'll tell you what. In reference to Yogi's, I'm sure that the great people here will maybe allow us to do it from Culver's on that particular day. But
he
that would be
said that AJ Guyton had already called him and wants him on his podcast. He hadn't gotten back to him yet. So Mike Woodson wants to let the Indiana Hoosier Nation know he is the coach and he is happy to be here and he wants to make this thing happen. This is his first day on the job.
Well, and let me tell you how important that is, John. And not to throw stones at Archie Miller, but that was the opposite of what it was like before. There was zero contact. There was zero communication. There was zero relationship with him. I can say I got a good relationship with virtually all the coaches from all the sports, football, and all that. There was just none with anybody there. And it's just sad because I don't expect there to be tight, but at least where you can speak. And that just wasn't there. And I just couldn't believe that didn't filter down. I think that it did, but it's great to see that because we see what's happened on the football side and how valuable that has been. I think that translates. AJ,
one thing I want to give a shout out to Scott Dolson. I mean, it took some courage to do what he's doing. This was not. I mean, 20 years without doing this, and Scott comes in, and the first major move he makes is to bring Mike back, which needed to be done. But there needs to be some shout out to Scott and to orchestrate all this and the help he had with Quinn being his liaison to the Board of Trustees and that. I mean, there was a lot of work behind this, I'm sure. We don't know it. I don't know it. John, you down there, you may have a little bit more input into that. But shout out to Scott for just having the courage to pull this off. I think it's going to prove not to be very courageous, because I think we're all going to be really happy with the end results of what's going to happen here to Indiana. But still, just to make this move is great on Scott's part.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
if I could chime in, I just want to say, like with Scott, man, he's a guy. I was always close to Scott. So like when I was there, he was like 7th, 8th man down from the AD. But I used to talk with him every week, maybe 2-3 times a week. Whenever I go back to Indiana in the summertime, the first person I always go see is Scott. And so, you know, I remember I went back last November and I was talking to him. This is like right before he got it. And then he got the AD position. And we've been talking ever since. And, man, he values the opinions of former Hoosiers. He loves former Hoosiers. And he just really wants to not only get the basketball program, but make sure that in all athletic programs, we're putting our best foot forward. And so I'm real excited for Scott. Now, with Mike Woodson, man, I love Mike. So I had take the clock back 5-6 years ago. I just retired from playing when I was like 30. I'm 39 now. And so Ving Rhames, the actor, famous Hollywood actor in a lot of movies, he has a son, Freedom, and I train his son. And his son now is about to sign D1. But he knew Mike. And so he called Mike, and then he had me go meet Mike at a restaurant down in Santa Monica. And man, Mike was an excellent help for me, just an awesome help, because I'm asking him questions about coaching. I'm a player fresh into this coaching world, and then the working players out and things of that nature. And so I just talked with him. I was just a sponge. I just listened. And Mike, like you guys say, a Mike fashion was, hey, just even keel, very subtle, very direct. And man, he answered so many questions I had. And he said the thing that I want to always make sure is that wherever I'm coaching at, I want to be with a strong group. But the thing I loved about Mike is, man, Mike is a genuine dude, a great guy. And then after that, he gave me his number. And so from time to time, I'll send Mike a text. Mike will text me back, you know, and Mike doesn't like texting that much. So I'll call Mike. Mike will call me. So I'm real happy that they chose Mike, because Mike is such a great person. He really is.
Joe is someone who was originally from California, but you've become a Hoosier. Been here, I guess, since you came here after college and whatnot, but you came back and you just live here. How important is it for someone who has not from here originally, though, but getting back to the Indiana roots of what this program was built on, and then it was just let go and kind of went away in a different direction? How important is it to get back to that right now?
Hey, Joe, just before you answer, let me let you know it's 88 and sunny out here in LA today.
I know. My mom told me yesterday.
It's beautiful out here right now.
So, you know, I'm first. I'll go back to what Steve said. I don't think this was a hard call for Scott Dolson. Mm-hmm. I mean, it absolutely had to happen, and it's taken too long. It should have happened maybe 2 coaches ago. I don't know.
Well, he actually wanted the job before.
Scott was in Indiana when I was there the whole time. Came in as freshman together. He's a manager all 4 years. I've been pretty good friends with Scott for a long time. You know, I do want to commend him, though. I don't think firing Archer was a hard call. I think, and it'd be interesting to know, did they really go after Brad Stevens? And if not, okay, he says no. Now I think you go, bam, this has to be an IU guy. Has to be. And him getting, you know, Mike Woodson, I'm sure he talked to a lot of guys. But getting back to what Indiana does is you got to win. I would not have come from California to play at Indiana if you didn't win. The style suited me. But if you win, people are going to want to come. And it sure makes recruiting a lot easier. And everybody always says, oh, we got to keep the Indiana guys. We got to keep the Indiana guys. I go back to 87. One guy on our team was from Indiana that had any say in what was going on. That was awful. Nobody else. So you get guys that want to fit into what you're trying to accomplish instead of just going and getting the best players. I'd like to see us build a program where we got 3, 4, 5-year guys there, because you have juniors and seniors, you win games. Look at Baylor. Look at Gonzaga. They're the 2 best teams in the country. It's not even close. And they got a bunch of juniors and seniors on their team because they got 23 and 22-year-olds playing against 18 and 19-year-olds. You're going to win. So that's building a program. And I think that's what Mike's going to really focus on. At least I hope he focuses on that. And let's just build this thing back to where it was.
John, coming back to you, you live here in Bloomington. Bloomington has been affected as well by this. It's the basketball. When the basketball program is down, the town is kind of down. The school's down. We've seen a lot of success in other athletics tonight. The women are going for a shot at the Final Four. Let's make sure we cheer them on tonight at 9. But they've kind of gotten lost a little bit because of all this stuff that's going on. And that's another thing. I'm glad to see this get resolved. So all that, because, man, IU athletics could possibly just explode here this fall.
Right. You know how hard it was to get football turned around. Tom Allen's done the job there. I was at the Culvers today at lunch, and people came in. What did you think of the hire? I said it was absolutely great. We're very excited. Here's why. We're going to get back to winning. People would come in before this hire last year, and they would say, "Oh, there's a game tonight? Oh, I didn't even know," because they didn't want to watch the game. They didn't care. That's exactly what happened with the Hoosier Nation. And as I've talked to people today, just in one day, you can see the whole attitude change. We got one of our guys, and I want to thank, as Mike Woodson did, Scott May and Quinn Buckner. They were there at the press conference. It was virtual only, but those 2 guys were there. So just think about this. Those are one of the 2 greatest early names in Indiana basketball since Coach got here. They would have recruited Woodson his senior year in high school, and then they left. Woodson comes in as a freshman and is eligible, starts to play. Then all 3 of them went into the NBA. Again, Buckner and May a little older, so they retired earlier. Woodson played 11 years. He retired, but they have been fast friends for a long time. And, I would think Scott May and Quinn Buckner are going to come to a lot more games now with Mike Woodson there. And we talked last time, Joe, that not many players are going back to games.
No, you're right. Well, a few years ago they yanked all the tickets, and now you can't, it's hard to get back to getting into them. But that'd be something that I would love to see. Some of these other programs across the country, John, you see ex-players. They're there, 20, 30 of them. You can't get them all back there, but let's get guys back. It's just, like I said, I remember playing, you come over to timeout, and you'd see yourself, Steve, Kitchell, Wayne Radford. You see guys behind the bench.
Yeah.
We're not even exposed to the program anymore. I think that's sad. I think that, to me, the program is bigger than just 3 or 4 years of certain guys. But I also get, you hire a new guy that's got his own thought process. He's strong-willed. He wants to do it. Oh, I get it. I understand the program. That was 30 years ago. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do it my way, and we'll make it work. Well, it hasn't worked, and I'm just so glad it's an Indiana guy. I mean, there's enthusiasm, and people are ready to explode to go back to games. I mean, Archie Miller is so lucky this year that fans were not allowed in games, and so was the athletic department, because you'd had 8,000 or 9,000 people at games, because nobody would have gone down there. Think about that. I was on a terrible team my freshman year, and we still packed the arena every night. No chance it would have more than 10,000 people at a game this year with this the way they played. I
agree.
I could be wrong, but
no, I agree with you. And speaking of recruiting, Eric Gordon Sr., of course, father of Eric Gordon, a former IU player. John, go ahead and bring him in. Joins us now as well. But they have the E3 Academy, EG3 Academy. Hey, Mr. Gordon, thank you for joining us, by the way.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'd love to have you on, because talking about the hire of Mike Woodson and all the work you do with the kids today still and the AAU events, and because there's a lot of people who talked about this hire being – they didn't think it would work because of the age and all that. And I'm like, man, the guy's an NBA guy. I think it's going to be fine, but no one would know any more than you would. You deal with these kids every day.
I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis. I think for everybody that loves basketball, for Mike to be there and be a part of back to Indiana as a coach. Eric called me this morning. He was so excited. And I guess he had talked with Mike for a couple of minutes before he went in, Coach Woodson, before he went in and did his press conference. But he was just so excited to have him back. I think any player that play for, and there's so many players that have went on and coached and done a fantastic job. I think why not have someone from Indiana that's been successful come back and do their thing there? I just don't understand. Great opportunity and for basketball to do what it does best.
As far as recruiting, the kids that are younger, obviously they're not going to maybe know who Mike Woodson is by name, but I think that because of history they're going to be looking at stuff and finding out, oh, wait a minute, hey. And it's funny how kids who don't know a lot, all of a sudden when you start presenting information with them, they get it. They know what guys are real. You see any problems with the distance that it's been time from him playing in Indiana or playing in the NBA and dealing with kids today relating to 18, 19, 17-year-old kids?
No, not at all.
I don't.
Not at all. Not at all. I think there will be a good connection. I think all these kids have to do is just see where he's came from, see what he's done, and they'll know he's real. They know that he can help where they want to go, and he'll help them be the best basketball players they can be. I'm excited. I don't see an age as an issue. I think 63, that's a young man. He got me by 4 years. I think that's I'm a pretty young man. So I think that's a good thing. I think he's got enough connections. He's got enough history that anyone with the internet these days, all you got to do is type letters, Mike Woodson, and you'll see exactly what kind of person and basketball player and coach he's been over the years.
I don't know about you, AJ. I think 63 is old.
Hey, man. Hey,
Ouch.
say that.
Mr. Gordon, we've got Joe Hillman, Steve Risley, John Laskowski, and AJ Moye on. I know you're joining us by phone, so I'm not sure if you can see that, but they're the ones giving you the rash, not me. But AJ, I know you agree with Mr. Gordon because, like I said, you deal with these kids too.
Yeah, I'm agreeing because, I mean, if you look at Mike and what he's done everywhere he's been, I mean, if you look out in L.A., look at the amount of all-stars he coached there. I mean, you look at him with the Knicks. The last time the Knicks were any good was Mike Woodson, right? And Carmelo Anthony, man. J.R. Smith won Sixth Man of the Year. I mean, you look at his team with the Hawks. He had 4 All-Stars every year and had the Hawks winning 50-plus games like 4 or 5 consecutive years. So, man, Mike knows his ball. So a lot of these kids in nowadays, a lot of the kids now, that's my daughter. A lot of the kids nowadays, they know him from coaching, but it doesn't take much. I mean, you got Google now, you got everything else. They can see him as a player, and man, he was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, you played with him, like I said, and we've talked about that earlier. What about him, the person? When you knew him as a player, what about him stood out? What was different besides his talent?
Mike was never selfish. He would not put himself in front of the team for the success of the team. If we were playing against a game where the focus had to be scoring inside and we had to get Landon and Ray doing most of the dominance for us, Mike became a passing guard or played the perimeter and did what he had to do. He wanted to win more than anything, and he wanted to make contributions so the team won. And there were times when we'd all looked at Mike and said, Mike, we need 25 or 30 out of you tonight. And, if he had it in him, he would deliver it to us. And there were other times when, coach would say, we've got to beat this team inside. The perimeter guys are going to stay outside, play perimeter, and we're going to get it down and get the screen and rolling offside. Play a 3-3 or 2-man triangle. You guys all know triangle. Play something like that. And we get the things done we needed to do But Mike just was never a selfish person. I don't think he's selfish as a coach. And I think he's going to want to try and re-recruit the guys there. He wants to keep those guys in Indiana. He wants a shot at these guys. And, I hope most of them decide to stay here right now and play in Indiana and not decide to take the portal and go.
John, why did it take – I'm sorry, go ahead, AJ.
Real quick, you know what? I was thinking about what Laz said earlier, and it's something that stuck out to me. So I don't want to say anything about anybody, but, I train a lot of kids. I work with a lot of kids. And so there's a lot of programs with turnover, right? So it's a program recently that had turnover. And, I think they had a coach on, Reels. They had a coach, Reels. I don't want to say who it is, but they had a coaching change. They had the new coach they announced recently. And the guy still hasn't talked to the players, right? And you were saying how coach had already been speaking with the players when you got there, right? So to me, that shows like this guy, he's an IU guy. He loves IU. He loves the players there at IU, and he wants to make IU great. And I love the fact that he's already doing that because, many coaches, they have other things on their minds, but his first thing is always the kids, always the players. So
I've got a question for both Eric and AJ. I got a question for AJ and Mr. Gordon. When I came to college in the 70s, it was really about getting that education, finding a good job, and moving on. Yeah, I got to play 2 years in the NBA, but that wasn't going to be my livelihood. The pay was very low, and obviously 50 years later, that dynamic has changed. I'm sure there's still kids who want to come to college. They want to play ball. They want to get a job. They want to go to Wall Street, whatever it might be. But there is a percentage of kids out there who are good enough, and they want to go to the NBA. And I think that there's a question those parents ask now when they're on the recruiting trip. How can you help my son get to the NBA? And it's a legitimate question because there's a lot of money there for them to make that they may make more there than they would doing anything else. And a lot of times it's hard for a college coach to answer that question because he's just trying to keep his job as a college coach. He doesn't really care about NBA. And 4 years later, he's thinking about how am I going to win some games to keep my job? When you have a guy like Mike Woodson in a position of the head coach at Indiana and that question is asked, he's got an answer. You guys think the same?
Yeah, I definitely think the same. And the thing is, I'd say this, man, like everyone who knows the game and knows the game well, that the game is earned each day, each moment, each hour, each minute, right? And so, Mike has the credibility, the know-how, and the ability to help these kids, turn those dreams into reality. But, it's something that, I reiterate to families all the time. Hey, the kid's not just going to be averaging 50 after working out for a week. So, it's tricky, but I think Mike is definitely the man for it because Mike did it and Mike continues to do it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think the biggest thing when you get these kids, let's say you go to the NBA 1 year. Let's say you're one and done. My son Eric's been lucky enough to play 13 years, but his biggest thing, he's a good athlete, great athlete, but his skill set was really good. And I think the key for a coach like Coach Woodson, he's going to say, hey, do you want to be 1 or 2 or 3 years in the NBA, or do you want to have a long future? So you come here to IU, we're going to get that skill set the way it needs to be so you can have a nice long future and you can be a successful basketball player. So, not always the one and done end up being successful. There's a handful, but you got to get that skill set. You got to work. You got to put that work and effort out there on the court. So I think the biggest thing is skills. All those kids have tremendous talents, but I think, you work on that skill. It's not just 1 year. It might take a couple of years, might take 3 or 4 years, but once you make it, you'll be there for a while.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things Coach Knight worked with us was the mental side of the game. Not only did it help us become better basketball players, but it helped us in life because basketball doesn't last forever, and nobody likes hanging around a jerk no matter how much money he's got. And And Mike mentioned that today. He said, I want to bring these young men up just like Coach brought me up to learn some things on the court and off the court. And you can extend your NBA career if you have the talent and you have the right personality, be a great teammate. Guys are going to want you and you can be there longer. So Mike's looking, I think, a guy who could do both of those things. Help a young man grow from a high school to a college player onto a pro player, and talent-wise say, if you want to be in the NBA, here's what you need to work on. I've been 30 years. I know what guys like you need to work on, and if the kid wants to work on and be better, then that's a home run for the kid.
Guys, and what is the biggest thing besides getting back to Indiana basketball? I think that Indiana is a blue blood, whether people want to question that or not. But the thing that is telling about that is all it takes is a sprinkling of water, and this program is going to blow up again. And that's what other programs can't do. They cannot blow up that big, that fast, and stay there. And I think that someone like Mike Woodson will be able to do that. I think he'll be able to hold on to probably most of these players that he has. But I think his recruiting is going to be more than solid. Kids are going to want to come here, and it's going to probably turn around faster than some people think. But you also got to consider the transfer portal. It will work in the other way towards Indiana as well, and Mike Woodson could also recruit out of that.
Well, I'll be shocked if these guys leave. I mean, if they put their name in for a portal wanting to know who the coach was going to be, I want to sit down with anybody that says, no, Mike Woodson, I'm leaving because of Mike Woodson. That would stun me. Now, it wouldn't shock me if Mike came back and said, go ahead. Yeah, you can leave. So I heard him say a little tidbit on some news bite that I heard. Hey, that thing works both ways, you know. So the thing to me on that is they've got enough talent to win right now. So, Jim, you say, might turn around faster than most people think. I seriously believe if you worked on some fundamentals and you had some guys that can make a couple shots, you're going to have a pretty good team because you got a center down there that's as good as anybody in the country at scoring. So you build around him if he comes back. How bad can you be?
And having talent in the right hands, like someone like Mike Woodson and Thad Matta, I mean, whatever he's going to do, and the assistants that we've talked about that we don't know. We don't know who they're going to be and what they can bring along to this as well.
Well, I tell you what, that's a great combination. I see Thad off and on where I work out at, and he's a great guy. He's a great coach. And when I talked with Eric this morning, the one thing he did say about Mike, he said, I tell you what, I played against him. And he said, that guy can coach. He said he can coach.
Well, there's a definitive statement like none other. So now with getting the guy that Indiana needs, the program needs, what should Hoosier Nation now? What's the next step? Just sit back, relax, and let everything go forward. John, what goes on next?
Well, and he started today by talking to players. You get the assistant coaches. It won't be long before the AU stuff starts. You're on the road looking for those kids. And as you know, recruiting's a 2, 3, 4 year process as you bring kids along. I think the other thing Mike will be good at is going out into the Hoosier Nation and speaking about what he wants to do with the program. And as people hear him, they talk to their friends. Hey, I heard Mike Woodson today. Here's what he likes to do. He's just such a likable guy. You're going to understand what his goal is with this program. And these fans are dying to have a winner again. I mean, some of these Indiana fans have never seen a winner. Going back to AJ's 2002 team that went to the Final Four, that's the last great run we've had. That's almost 20 years ago. So we want to get back to that and get to the tournament automatically, get to the Sweet 16, go to the Elite Eight, go to the Final Four, win a few titles, and that's where Indiana needs to be. This is the guy that can do it.
I believe it. I'll go to AJ next because we'll talk about that, following up with that, AJ.
Oh, man, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Mike, man. Mike is one on every level, man. On every level. You know what I mean? The guy just wins. So, I'm a firm believer in it. It's gonna take a lot of work, but it's nothing that he's afraid of. It's nothing that he can't do. So I'm more of the I'm more of a wait and see guy. Now, I do believe that Mike's going to have a much more of an open door policy. He'll probably have a lot of us come back at different times, maybe come and speak. But the thing is I'm a believer. I'm already sold. I don't have to. There's no grace period given. Like I believe in Mike Woodson, and I know we're gonna be back on top in no time soon.
Mr. Gordon, with AAU coming back around now, we've had this pandemic that we've been dealing with. Didn't have the AAU season last year. Hopefully going to have something coming up soon with that. How important is that with the new coach, Indiana? They can, whether or not they can get out and see these kids or not. But it's coming to an end, it seems like. But very important now for the IU coach for this to be happening at this time.
Yeah, I think this is great timing. I think the month of April may be tough getting out, but I think with all the scouts and writers that can share the information, as well as some of the websites that will take video, I think it'll be a good time. But I think the opportunity will be in July. That's when I think the biggest impact will be. Maybe June, because I think June coaches can go out at the end of June, high school players. So I think that'll be a key important time as well.
Steve, what's the biggest takeaway for you today, man?
Couple things. One, first off, you guys were talking about just recruiting out of Indiana. John will tell you, back in our day, we're that old. We considered Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana all part of Indiana. Yeah. So we just wanted players. We took players out, and that's right, John. Wasn't it pretty much the makeup of most of our teams were from those 4 states? So when I was saying Indiana, I wasn't saying the hell with everybody else not in Indiana. It's everywhere. And then the Joe Hillmans come in from California. Why you ever left California is beyond me. That's
championship team.
But
he's got a ring, baby. He's got a ring too.
Yeah. There you go. The thing I took away, and have known Mike as long as I have, to me, what I love about this is I think Mike has all the tools. I think he's going to have the support. He's going to get all the opportunity he wants. We're all going to be wanting to give too much help to him initially. That's just because of our passion and love for the program as well. But for this, I see this situation right now as a destination for Mike Woodson, as an end result. Like, I don't think Mike really cares to go coach anywhere else again in his life. And I could be wrong, but I can know that I can say that about all the coaches since Coach Knight left here in 2002. That these coaches looked at Indiana as more of a stepping stone to get somewhere else or do something better. Case in point, boy, there's Calvin Sampson right now getting ready to possibly be playing in the Final Four. And I don't know, if that's the right answer or not. I think this is Mike's home for good. And I think he's just going to continue to get better and grow. He's going to absorb this program. He's going to become the face of this program. And he's going to be welcomed into any player's home he wants to, wherever he wants to go recruit. Because I think he's going to bring Indiana back to that level of respectability. What happens there, we've all played in the NCAA tournaments. We know what can happen. Guys' arms can get broken. Somebody can hit a crazy bucket at the buzzer that take it. Sometimes you get a hot streak and you end up winning your last 10 games and win it all. The tournament's crazy. That's why it's called March Madness. But I think the home that Mike is rebuilding in Bloomington right now is one we're all going to be very proud of, and we're all going to be very fun and all desirable to go back down there.
That's a great point, Joe Hillman.
Yeah, we talked about it last time, Jim. When Steve, you weren't on, and AJ, you weren't on. But when you played for Coach Knight, it was talked about, let's win the Big Ten. Everything was focused around that Big Ten Conference Championship. Because John's right. Look, we wanted it all in '87. What we got a couple good breaks, and you've got to have some good breaks. You got. Look at Houston. Houston probably should have got beat by Rutgers. You're going to have to survive somewhere along the tournament. But if you are a consistent team that is year in and year out challenging for the Big Ten Conference, You're going to be among the elite in the country. And, it's hard to win a national championship. There's no doubt about it. You got to have some luck. You got to have great players. But you also got to get some breaks. So I just want to see us back in the hunt for the Big Ten title, because now you're good, and it's really, really fun to go to games at Assembly Hall, and it's really, really hard for opponents to come in there and play there when you got the crazies going crazy. And, Assembly Hall is a tough place to go play. I'm not sure it's so tough anymore, but winning will bring that back for sure.
Absolutely. And John Laskowski, you are you're our elder statesman, not by age, just because you have all the knowledge. I want you to have the last words here.
Well, you can tell by the guys here, we hadn't talked before this and didn't know Mr. Gordon was going to be on, but we're all in conclusion. This is just a wonderful hire. I'm sure that after the players talk to the coaches today, Coach Matta and the Coach Woodson, they're going to be excited. We're going to get the team together, and this thing just gets better and better. Remember in the press conference, he talked about, I want to get the players back together. He remembers that old golf outing Coach used to have in the summer, and guys would come back, and we'd spend a couple days and get to see each other. We've kind of got away from that, and he wants to do that this summer. I went to see him today, and I said, Coach, now you still play golf, don't you? He goes, absolutely. I said, well, we got a brand new course here at IU, and you're going to love it. And so he's going to have this tournament. Dolson and him put this together. All the guys will come back, be ready to hear the date, guys. I don't know when it's going to be, but we're going to be back here doing this thing. And I think we're all going to be so pleased to once again be Indiana basketball players, to be part of that alumni, and to be welcomed back to Assembly Hall and be a part of the program.
Absolutely. And make sure, don't forget the women's team plays tonight for a shot at the Final Four. Make sure you watch them, because I'm going to be watching them. But, man, I cannot thank Mr. Gordon. So thankful for you to take time out. I know you just got done training to join us. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you. You've always been a great friend of the show as well. Thank you so much. E3 Academy, if you're looking for a kid, place to go, of course. That's one of the great options here in this state. That's nothing about this state. It has three great academies, but no, I don't think there's any place better than Indiana, and except if you're on the West Coast with AJ Moye, of course. AJ, but AJ, now who is it you work with someone, right?
Well, I work with Kobe at his mama's sports academy, but now we're just sports academy. So I run basketball out there.
So you know what? If you're out there, that's where AJ's the guy to see. Steve Risley, also on the West Coast. Steve, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. You've always been a great friend to us as well. 1981 national champion. Keeping up with the Hoosiers on the West Coast, man. It's got to be tough sometimes.
AJ, we got to hook up. I didn't know you were out here on the West Coast.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm out here. I live in Westlake Village.
Yeah.
Joe Hillman.
Jim, thanks again for having us, Jim. We appreciate it, buddy.
I thank you guys. You guys are I cannot thank you enough. Joe, I can't wait to see you. Get down to Bloomington, play some golf. Joe as well, or John as well. Get out and play his golf. All you guys, thank you so much. But thanks to everybody else. Go watch the Lady Hoosiers win tonight. And then I'll be back tomorrow, of course, on the radio. But thanks to these guys, the legends of Indiana basketball, for joining us here tonight. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.